Camping is supposed to be a break from the chaos of daily life, a chance to disconnect, unwind, and enjoy nature's silence. But the forest can hold darker things than peace and quiet. For some, a simple weekend away turned into the kind of nightmare no one expects, and not everyone survives. In this video, we will see 4 true camping stories are not only terrifying, they are chilling reminders of how quickly paradise can turn into hell. 1. The double homicide at Shenandoah National Park, 1996. Shenandoah National Park is a place where people go to escape the noise. Its expansive woods, winding trails, and picturesque campsites offer a rare sense of isolation. But in May 1996, that peace was shattered by one of the most haunting unsolved crimes in national park history. Julie Williams and Laura Lolly Winans were an adventurous couple in their mid-20s who loved the outdoors. They set off on a backcountry camping trip with their golden retriever and pitched a tent in a remote part of the park. They were experienced, careful hikers, so when neither returned home and no one heard from them, concern quickly escalated. A search party was organized, and on June 1st, their campsite was found. What rescuers discovered was horrifying. Both women had been bound and gagged. Their throats had been slashed. Their dog, strangely, was unharmed. Nothing was stolen. The scene looked eerily personal, almost ritualistic. The FBI launched an investigation, and for years the case went cold. Eventually, a man named Darrell Rice was indicted, but the charges were dropped for lack of evidence. Despite DNA being collected from the scene, no match has ever been confirmed. The case remains unsolved to this day. Many believe it was a hate crime, possibly committed because the women were in a same-sex relationship. Others believe it was a random act by a serial predator stalking remote campsites. Either way, what happened that night in the Virginia woods left a dark shadow over the serenity of Shenandoah. Julie and Lolly were just 2 people trying to enjoy nature, and instead, they were hunted. 2. The disappearance of Jarrett Martin, Mount Rainier, 2016. Jarrett Martin was 23 years old and passionate about the outdoors. In July 2016, he and 2 friends decided to go camping and hiking in Washington State's Mount Rainier National Park. Known for its stunning peaks and challenging terrain, the park attracts thousands every year. Jarrett's group was well prepared, experienced, and ready for a weekend of adventure. But on the second day, while his friends stayed back to rest, Jarrett decided to take a solo hike to explore a nearby ridge. He never came back. Initially, his friends assumed he'd just gotten caught up in the scenery. But after several hours passed without any contact, panic set in. They alerted park rangers, and a massive search began. Helicopters, dogs, and volunteers combed the area. Days turned into weeks, but not a single clue was ever found. No gear, no clothing, no footprints, nothing. It was as if Jarrett had vanished into thin air. What makes his disappearance even more disturbing is that Jarrett had a GPS-enabled phone, and he was familiar with the area. He was not someone prone to getting lost. Some speculate he fell into a hidden crevasse or a deep ravine. Others believe he may have encountered wildlife, or worse, another human being with darker intentions. But with no evidence, every theory is just speculation. The park is beautiful, but it's also vast, over 250,000 acres of rugged wilderness. And in places like that, a person can simply disappear. To this day, Jarrett's family keeps his memory alive, hoping that one day some clue will emerge. But for now, his story remains one of the most baffling modern camping disappearances in the Pacific Northwest. 3. The Weeping Woman of Blackbird Creek, Delaware, 2004. This story is less well known, but deeply disturbing, and it's something that haunts both law enforcement and the people involved to this day. In 2004, a small group of college students from Delaware decided to go camping along the quiet banks of Blackbird Creek, just outside of town. The area was remote but scenic, popular for locals who knew where to find the hidden trails and unmarked camping spots. They brought tents, a fire pit, and enough supplies for the weekend. Everything started off normal. Music, beer, stories around the fire. But the second night changed everything. According to the group, sometime after midnight, they started hearing soft crying in the woods. At first, they thought it was an animal, maybe a fox or raccoon making strange noises. But the longer it went on, the clearer it became. It was a woman crying, not wailing, but subtle, almost like someone trying not to be heard. Then, one of them claimed to see her, barefoot, long white shirt, standing just behind the tree line. No flashlight, no shoes, just standing there. When they called out to her, she turned and disappeared into the trees. They searched but found nothing. No footprints, no signs of movement. By morning, they packed up and left early, shaken but unsure of what to believe. When they reported it to park rangers later, they learned that a local woman had died by suicide in that area back in the 80s, drowning herself in Blackbird Creek after her children died in a car accident. Some locals believe her spirit never left. And while there's no official documentation supporting hauntings in that area, the park rangers admitted off the record they've heard that crying before too. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, the students never went camping again. One of them reportedly had nightmares for years, waking up to the sound of weeping outside his window. 4. The Night of Terror at Ketty Resort, California, 1981. This case blurs the line between a camping trip and a cabin getaway, but it's impossible to ignore due to how brutal and mysterious it remains. In April 1981, the Sharp family, Gleneth, Sue Sharp, and her 5 children, were staying at a cabin in the rural community of Ketty, nestled deep in the mountains of Northern California. The area functioned like a rustic resort for campers, hikers, and people looking to get off the grid. But what happened on the night of April 11 would become one of the most gruesome and puzzling mass murders in U.S. history. That evening, Sue was in cabin 28 with her 2 sons, John and Donna, and her daughter Tina. Sometime during the night, at least one, and possibly more, unknown assailants entered the cabin. By morning, Sue, John, and Donna were found brutally murdered. They had been tied up with medical tape and electrical wire, stabbed repeatedly, and beaten with a claw hammer. Blood was everywhere. Walls, furniture, even the ceiling. Tina, the youngest daughter, was missing. What followed was a bungled investigation that still frustrates former detectives and internet sleuths to this day. Despite the horrifying scene, the case went cold quickly. No arrests, no concrete suspects, no motive. Then, 3 years later, Tina's skull was found miles away in the woods. No cause of death was ever determined. To make things even creepier, 3 other children, who had been sleeping in a back room, were completely unharmed and claimed they heard nothing. Over the years, numerous theories have emerged. Drug connections, a love triangle, revenge, or even a professional hit gone wrong. Recent documentaries and podcasts have breathed new life into the case, and some believe the local sheriff's department may have intentionally buried evidence. But officially, the Ketty murders remain unsolved. Camping in a secluded mountain cabin might seem romantic, but for the Sharp family, it was the last place they ever saw. When we think of camping, we imagine s'mores, campfires, and the calming sounds of nature. But nature can be unpredictable. People can be worse. And sometimes, it's not just the cold or the isolation that threatens your life. It's the secrets that live just beyond the edge of your tent. These 4 stories